Imagine a world, a global tapestry woven with threads of power and influence. A world where one nation, a singular entity, controlled a quarter of the planet's landmass and its people. This was the British Empire at its peak, a colossus straddling the globe in the early 1900s. Maps of the era were splashed with vibrant red, a visual testament to their vast holdings, stretching from the vast expanse of Canada in the west to the sun-baked lands of Australia in the east, encompassing the jewel in the crown, India, and extending to tiny, strategically important islands scattered across the vast oceans. The saying went, "The sun never set on the British Empire," a powerful symbol of unmatched power, immense wealth, and far-reaching global influence that shaped the world. This dominance was firmly built on the foundations of industrial might, the engine of their expansion, a powerful Royal Navy ruling the seas, and a vast network of colonies relentlessly supplying valuable resources like tea, fueling the empire's growth, cotton for its mills, and diamonds enriching its coffers. But beneath the veneer of grandeur and imperial might, ruling over hundreds of millions of people with incredibly diverse cultures and aspirations, was a costly endeavor and fraught with underlying tension. Nationalist movements simmered beneath the surface, fueled by a desire for self-determination, and the seeds of independence, of a future free from colonial rule, were already being sown across the empire. The story of the empire's inevitable fall began the very moment it reached its zenith, the highest point of its power and influence. In 1914, the world plunged headfirst into the abyss of the Great War, a conflict unlike any seen before. The vast British Empire, seeking to bolster its forces, mobilized millions of soldiers from its far-flung colonies to fight on distant battlefields. The war effort was initially presented as a testament to imperial unity, a demonstration of shared purpose and loyalty to the crown. But this unity came at a staggering human cost. Nearly 1 million British lives were lost, leaving countless families in mourning and forever altering the social fabric of the nation. The war also resulted in crippling national debt, placing an immense strain on the British economy. Before the war, Britain stood as the world's top lender, a financial powerhouse with global reach. However, the immense cost of the conflict transformed Britain into its biggest debtor, relying heavily on loans, especially from the United States. The fundamental economic foundations of the empire were severely shaken by the war's financial burden. Consequently, economic recovery in the aftermath of the war was a slow and arduous process. Colonial soldiers, having witnessed the world and fought alongside Europeans, returned home with a profound new sense of identity and awareness. This newfound awareness fueled growing demands for self-determination and greater autonomy within the empire. Nationalist movements across the colonies gained significant momentum in the wake of the war. These movements increasingly questioned the logic of fighting for freedom in Europe while being denied it at home. Though ultimately victorious in the war, Britain emerged significantly weakened on multiple fronts. The war had irrevocably shattered its imperial confidence and aura of invincibility. The immense strain of the Great War exposed deep-seated vulnerabilities within the empire. These vulnerabilities were wounds from which the empire would never fully recover, setting the stage for its eventual decline and dissolution. Just 2 decades later, World War II delivered an even heavier blow to the British Empire. Once again, colonies and dominions provided troops and resources, but early defeats like the fall of Singapore shattered British prestige. The war left Britain bankrupt and dependent on American aid, with no funds to maintain its vast empire. The world order shifted. America and the Soviet Union became superpowers, both opposing old-style colonialism. The moral argument for empire collapsed as Britain fought for freedom abroad but denied it at home. A new government prioritized rebuilding Britain, not policing the world. The stage was set for rapid decolonization. The empire's fate was sealed. The Second World War marked the beginning of the end. India, the jewel in the crown, was the heart of British imperial power. After World War II, a powerful independence movement led by Gandhi and Nehru made British rule untenable. In 1947, Britain hastily partitioned India and Pakistan, triggering mass migrations and horrific violence. Indian independence was a turning point, inspiring other colonies to demand freedom. The loss of India undermined the empire's purpose and exposed its fragility. Soon after, Burma and Ceylon gained independence, and nationalist movements surged elsewhere. Britain no longer had the will or resources to hold its empire by force. The dominoes of decolonization began to fall. The 1950s and 60s saw decolonization accelerate across Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean. Ghana led the way in 1957, inspiring a wave of independence across the continent. Some transitions were peaceful, others, like Kenya's Mau Mau uprising, were violent. In Asia, Malaya and later Malaysia gained independence after years of conflict. The Caribbean islands followed, starting with Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago in 1962. By the late 1960s, most of the empire was gone, dismantled in just 2 decades. Local nationalism, Britain's economic weakness, and the Cold War drove this rapid retreat. For former colonies, independence brought hope and immense challenges. The Suez Crisis of 1956 marked a pivotal moment in British history, a turning point that exposed the shifting sands of global power. It was Britain's public humiliation, a stark demonstration of its diminished influence on the world stage. The crisis unfolded as a dramatic clash of interests, revealing the vulnerabilities of a once dominant empire. The crisis proved definitively that Britain could no longer act unilaterally, requiring American approval and support for major international actions. This dependence signaled a significant shift in the balance of power. The failed invasion of Suez exposed Britain's weakness not only militarily but also politically and economically. It became a symbol of the empire's decline. The Suez debacle accelerated the end of empire, hastening the independence movements in colonies across the globe. The dream of a vast, unified British realm was fading fast. Economic decline and shifting priorities at home further weakened Britain's grip on its overseas territories. The focus shifted inward towards domestic concerns. This led Britain to focus increasingly on Europe, seeking economic and political integration with the European Economic Community, rather than pursuing global dominance. The final symbolic end of the empire came in 1997, marking the conclusion of a long and transformative era. This was when Hong Kong, the last major colony, was handed back to China, signifying the definitive end of British rule in the region. The lowering of the Union Jack in Hong Kong marked the close of a 300-year chapter of global influence and imperial ambition. Today, the Commonwealth serves as a reminder of those former ties, linking former colonies in a voluntary association. And Britain retains a handful of overseas territories, remnants of its once vast empire. The empire's legacy is complex and multifaceted. English language, legal systems, and democratic ideals spread worldwide, shaping institutions and societies across continents. But so did conflict, exploitation, and enduring economic challenges that continue to affect many developing nations. The fall of the British Empire was inevitable, a process driven by powerful forces. This transformation was shaped significantly by the impact of war, particularly the 2 world wars, rising nationalism in colonized territories, and a fundamentally changing world order with the rise of new superpowers. Its end reshaped the modern world, leading to the emergence of new nations and a more interconnected global landscape. It is leaving behind lessons that are still felt today, influencing international relations and shaping our understanding of history.